Hi everyone, myself Nitin Heraji, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AJ Institute of Engineering and Technology, Mangaluru. In this video, I am going to discuss about media access control. Under that, in this video, I'll be explaining about random access protocols, and after which in the next video I'll be discussing about controlled access protocols, and then in the third video I will be discussing about channelization protocols. So the basically data link layer is subdivided into two sub layers, so that is data link control and multiple access resolution. Okay, so we have gone through the data link control in my last videos. So today we'll see what this multiple access resolutions can be done, what are its services and all those things. So the multiple access protocols is subdivided into three different categories. One is that random access protocols, which we will be discussing it in this video. So this random access protocols is having Aloha, CSMA, that is next is the CSMA CD and CSMA C. So here we have four different algorithms under random access protocol, and meanwhile we have another subcategory of multiple access protocols, that is controlled access protocols. So this in turn has three different protocols over here, that is reservation, polling and then token passing. Okay, and the third one is the channelization protocol, which has three different strategies, that is FDMA, that is frequency division multiple access, TDMA, which is a time division multiple access, and CDMA, which is code division multiple access. So these are the three protocols under channelization. Next we'll see what is Aloha, what is CSMA, what is CSMA CD, what is CSMA CA. Aloha in turn, it has two types. So one is pure Aloha and one more is the slotted Aloha. Alright, so first we'll look into what is Aloha. Under random access protocols, we'll first of all we'll see what is random access. In random access or contention methods, so it is also called as contention methods, no station is superior, nor uh, 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 the stations are there is no distinguish between station, that is no station is superior to another station, and none is assigned the control over another. There is nothing like master slave station or node in this case. And also no station permits or does not permit another station to send. So none of the station is having control over another station, that is one station cannot say that you cannot send the data to another station, or one can say that you can send the data. So there is no permission aspects over here. At each instance, a station that has data to send uses a procedure defined by the protocol to make a decision on whether or not to send. Okay, so there is some protocols where a station can see if it can send the data or not. So we'll discuss the four different protocols under random access. In a random access method, each station has the right to the medium without being controlled by any other station, as we discussed already. If more than one station tries to send, there is an access conflict, which we call it as collision, and the frames will be either destroyed or modified. That is because we are having only one channel to send the data. So if more than one station sends at the same time, then there might be a chance of collision. To avoid access conflict, each station follows a procedure that answers the following questions. First one, when can the station access the medium? What can the station do if the medium is busy? That is, when it can send later or something like that. How can the station determine the success or failure of the transmission? That is how a station will come to know the data sent by it is reached at the destination or not. What can the station do if there is an access conflict? So what is the solution for the station when there is an access conflict? So this is how the pure Aloha network works. Let me just read out the points that is here, and then I'll explain this. The idea is that each station sends a frame whenever it has a frame to send. That is, multiple access to the channel. Not only one station will be sending, there are many stations, that is multiple access to the channel. However, since there is only one channel to share, there is a possibility of collision between frames from different stations. Okay. So now if you look at this diagram, this is one channel, okay, and this is the time that you have it, and these are the n number of stations. So whichever frames are sent, that has to travel through a single channel. Okay. So now station 1 at this particular point of time, okay, it is going to send the frame. Now look at downward, other stations at this particular time, it is not going to send any frames. So there will not be any collision. Okay. Then if you look at this, here first frame 3 is being sent, after which frame 2.1, then frame 4.1, and then frame 1.2 is sent. So you can see that the collision will start at this point, right, and the collision will be there till this point. Okay, so this highlighted part is the collision duration, because this during this duration, that means during this particular time, the frames being sent from station 2, 3, 4 and 1. So there will be a collision. Next, if you look at this, station 2 has sent frame 2.2, after which station 4 has sent 4.2 frame. So if you look at this point, there is a collision, and up to this point. So this is the duration of the collision. So at this particular time, two stations are sending the frame simultaneously, that is station 4 and station 2. Then after that, the station 3 is sending the frame at this particular time, that is at frame 3.2 at this particular time, wherein if you see, no other station are sending the frame at this particular time. So this frame transfer is successful. So if you look at this diagram, there is no control over the station. Blindly the stations start sending the frames when it has a frame to send or a data to send. So there is no control at all over this. Okay. So next, I will look at this point. The pure Aloha protocol relies on acknowledgements from the receiver. When a station sends a frame, it expects the receiver to send an acknowledgement. If the acknowledgement does not arrive after a timeout period, the station assumes that frame has been destroyed and resends the frame. So in this Aloha also there is something called a timeout period, where a station sends a frame and starts the timer. If it does not receive the acknowledgement before the timer expires, what the station does is it will resend the frame again. A collision involves two or more stations. If all these stations try to resend their frames after the timeout, the frame will collide again. That is, after the timeout again, if immediately the station try to send the frames again, then obviously the same scenario will exist again, and the same amount of collision will happen. Okay, so that is the problem there. Next we have is that pure Aloha dictates that when the timeout period passes, each station waits a random amount of time before resending its frame. So this random amount of time, waiting for a random amount of time, will slightly reduce the amount of collision while resending the frame. Okay, that is not immediately after the timer expires the station will send the frame. It waits for a random amount of time and then resends the frame. Okay, which will reduce the collision, the rate of collision. Pure Aloha has a second method to prevent congesting the channel with retransmitted frames. We'll see what is that. After a maximum number of retransmission attempts, that is K max, a station must give up and try sometime later. So it has to give up sending the frame, and it can try sending the frames after some times later. Okay, that is when it reaches the attempts of K max, which is a constant that has been set. Alright, we'll see this how the flow diagram in Aloha works. So before that, we'll have to go through these. What are this? Where K, it is the number of attempts. So for every attempt, initially the K value will be 0. So after completing one attempt, the K value will be incremented by 1 and so on. So it is like a counter. It keeps track how many attempts have been made. Then we have is TP, which is the maximum propagation time. The maximum propagation time is nothing but what is that? Time taken for a frame to travel from one station to another station. Okay, including delay, all those things. So that would be the maximum propagation time. Okay, for example, if I want to reach from Mangalore to Udupi, so what is that? The maximum time taken, irrespective of the traffic block or irrespective of the rate of traffic. So considering all those factors, we'll calculate the maximum time required to reach from Mangalore to Udupi. So that is nothing but the maximum propagation time for a frame to travel from one station to another. Next is TFR, which is nothing but average transmission time for a frame. Okay, average transmission time for a frame in the sense, if you look at this diagram, so from this point up to this point, that is one frame completely. To transfer this one frame, what is the time taken? That is from this point to this time is the time taken. So that time is called as average time for a frame. And TB is the back of time. TB is the back of time. Okay, so we'll start back of time in the sense, so that is the random time you are going to wait before retransmitting the frames. Okay, so if a station has to start a frame to send, then it goes to start and then it initializes the value of k to 0 and then send the frame, and it will wait for the timeout time, where timeout time is 2 into propagation time. Why that is 2 times of propagation time is, we know that propagation time is the maximum time required to travel frame for one station to another station. So you know that the receiver has to send the acknowledgement back to the source. So the up and down time together, it is 2 into propagation time. So this is that timeout time. Okay. So after waiting for this long time, you'll have to check if acknowledgement is received or not. If acknowledgement is received, yes, then the frame has been transmitted successfully. If there is no acknowledgement received, then you need to retransmit the frame. So what has to be done is increment the value of k by 1 and then check if that k count is it greater than k max. Okay, that is maximum number of time you are going to retransmit the frame. If it reaches that k max value, then you will have to discard and try after some time. So here the k max normally it is set as 15. So if this condition is true, then abort the operation, that is don't retransmit the frame. You can try out sometime later. If no, then choose a random number r between 0 and 2 power k minus 1, after which you are going to calculate back of time, that is TB equal to r into TP or r into TFR. Okay, this is something random time that a station is going to wait before retransmitting the frame. So after waiting for this time, back of time, the station will retransmit the frame and this process will be restarted and the same procedure continues. Okay, so this is about pure Aloha. If you look at this this frame, it's a slotted Aloha. Okay, slotted Aloha, if you look at this, the station cannot simply send the frames at any time as it wishes. If you look at this diagram, there has been slots been put up: slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5. So if you have to send a frame, you have to send the frame at the beginning of the slot. You cannot send in between the slot. Okay, so what is one advantage is that if you look at this collisions, the collisions has minimized, the collision duration also minimized. Alright, either complete frame will be collided or no frame will be collided in this. Okay, whereas in previous one, if you look at the partial frames being colliding, right? Here the complete frame will be collided. So this is slotted Aloha. Next, we'll check about the vulnerable time. So vulnerable time is nothing but the length of time in which there is a possibility of collision. So vulnerable time says when what is the length of the time where there is a possible collision. So for a pure Aloha protocol, it is calculated like this. Say if this is time t and this is t minus TFR, that is average time for the frame, and this slot is also average time for the frame. Okay, and you can see here for the pure Aloha, the vulnerable time is 2 into TFR, that is from this point up to this point, it is vulnerable time. So you'll have to remember that vulnerable time for pure Aloha, it is 2 into TFR, whereas for slotted Aloha it is different. So we'll see what it is in the coming slides. So just remember that vulnerable time for pure Aloha, it is 2 into TFR. Just go through this question. A pure Aloha network transmits 200 bit frames. So one frame is of 200 bits on a shared channel of 200 kbps. So it's a shared channel, that means multiple stations or nodes is going to share that one channel, which has a bandwidth of 200 kilobits per second. Now calculate what is the requirement to make this frame collision free. Okay, so what is that requirement? That is nothing but you need to calculate the vulnerable time for the frame to be collision free. First, calculate frame transmission time. So frame transmission time is calculated by frame size divided by bandwidth. Okay, so that gives you the frame transmission time. We can also call it as average transmission time though. So average frame transmission time TFR is 200 bits, which is nothing but the frame size. This 200 bits is nothing but the frame size divided by 200 kilobits per second, which is the bandwidth, which gives you the value 1 millisecond, right? So 1 millisecond. So for the average frame transmission time for one frame, it is 1 millisecond. The vulnerable time is 2 into TFR, that is 2 into 1 milliseconds, that is equal to 2 milliseconds. So 2 milliseconds is the vulnerable time, which is nothing but duration of collision. So this means that no station should send later than 1 millisecond before the station starts a transmission. That means soon after 1 millisecond, no station should send its frame, because the vulnerable time is 2 milliseconds. Though 1 milliseconds is required, that is the time frame transmission time, but the vulnerable time is 2 milliseconds. You cannot send some other station cannot send after 1 milliseconds before this station starts transmission. And no stations should start sending during the period 1 millisecond. That is understood. So during 1 milliseconds, if you send, obviously there will be a collision. So so this is your final conclusion. So this is the requirement to make the frame collision free. All right. So we'll go to the next. Calculating the throughput. So let G be the average number of frames generated by the system during one frame transmission time. So G is the number of frames generated during one frame transmission time. So the throughput of pure Aloha is calculated as S equal to G into e power minus 2G. Okay, and the maximum throughput is max equal to 1 by 2e. Which is nothing but 0.184 when G equal to 1 by 2. That is when G equal to 1 by 2, S will be 1 by 2E. Okay, so this is the throughput, how you calculate. So this is a question. A pure Aloha network transmits 200-bit frames on a shared channel of 200 kilobits per second. What is the throughput if the system, that is all stations together, produces? There are three cases. First case is that 1000 frames per second, 500 frames per second, and 250 frames per second. So here we need to calculate the throughput for three different cases. So the frame transmission time, we know that the size of the frame, that is 200 bit divided by the bandwidth, that is 200 kilobits per second, which gives you 1 millisecond. So the frame transmission time for one frame, it is 1 milliseconds. If the system creates 1000 frames per second or 1 frame per millisecond, so the system will create 1 frame per millisecond, then G equal to 1. Alright, so G is 1. In this case, S is equal to G into e power minus 2G, that is equal to 0.135, which if calculated in percentage, it gives you 13.5%. So this means that the throughput is 1000 into 0.135, so that is equal to 135 frames. So you can send only 135 frames out of 1000 frames. Okay, so only 135 frames out of 1000 will probably survive, and the rest of the frames will be either lost or it is modified. Okay, so this is when you have 1000 frames per second. The second case is that if the system creates 500 frames per second or 1 by 2 frames per millisecond, then G equal to 1 by 2, then calculate the throughput as equal to G into e power minus 2G, which gives you 0.184, which gives you 18.4%. This means that the throughput is 500 into 0.184, which gives you 92. That means only 92 frames out of 500 will probably survive, and the rest of the frames might be discarded or it is lost or modified. Next we'll look into the third case. So what will be the value of G for the third case? If the system creates 250 frames per second, that means 1 by 4 frames per millisecond, then G is equal to 1 by 4. Now calculate the throughput using the formula S equal to G into e power minus 2G. So which gives you 0.152, which is nothing but a 15.2%. This means that throughput is 250 into 0.152, which gives you 38 frames. So only 38 frames out of 250 will survive. Okay, will probably survive, and rest might be discarded or it is lost. All right. So this is how it works with the pure Aloha. Now we'll see about slotted Aloha protocol, the vulnerable time for slotted Aloha protocol. In slotted Aloha, if you look at this, you have frames sent at one particular slot, correct? So if the collision will happen, this is the collision duration. So vulnerable time is nothing but the same as that of frame transition time. So that is TFR. So here you can see that A collides with the frame C, okay, and B does not have any collision here, and we also know that this point to this point is the frame transmission time, and that will be the same as that of the vulnerable time. All right, so this is about slotted Aloha protocol. Just now you can take down the formula. The throughput for slotted Aloha network is that S equal to G into E power minus G. Okay, the maximum throughput is that S max equal to 0.368 when G is equal to 1. Okay, kindly note down this. This formula might be needed. All right. So this is about slotted Aloha. Okay. So next we will continue with the CSMA, which is carrier sense multiple access. So we'll see what is CSMA. To minimize the chance of collision and therefore increase the performance, the CSMA method was developed. Okay, so here the rate of collision will be slightly reduced compared to the Aloha. The chance of collision can be reduced if a station senses the medium before trying to use it. That is, the station will sense the medium. If already some other station is sending the data, then probably this particular station may not send the data. Carrier sense multiple access requires that each station first listen to the medium or check the state of the medium before sending. So CSMA is based on the principle that sense before transmit or listen before talk. Okay, so this is the principle behind the CSMA, that is carrier sense multiple access. Here the possibility of collision still exists because of propagation delay. A station may sense the medium and find it idle only because the first bit sent by another station has not yet been received. So the propagation delay is that, if you can see here station B. So if this starts sending the frames, so the first bit may not be sensed by D immediately. So the D might take some time to sense the first bit that is sent from B, which we call it as propagation delay. So when B sends, if D senses the station, it sees that the medium is idle, and then it might start sending the frame, so which might cause for a collision at the later stage. If you look at this diagram, just look at this diagram, how it works out. At this particular time, B starts sending the frames. It senses the medium, sees that, you can see that this is a time. Okay, so at this particular time there is no station sending the data, so it senses the medium is idle, and it starts sending the data. Okay, so this is that first point where it starts sending the data. If you look at this, see this line, which is slightly taking more time to reach here, which is the propagation delay. So this, at this particular point, A senses that B is sending the frame at this particular point. You can see that slight delay over here between T1 here and this point T2. Okay, this is some delay over here. Meanwhile, so B sends and the first frame travels through the medium, so it takes time. So this is the point where D will get the first bit of B. Okay, so B will come to know that here the D station D will come to know that B is transmitting at this particular point. And meanwhile, if you look at C, at this particular point, it is going to send the data. So at this particular point at C, it senses that the medium is free, because C will only come to know at this particular point that B has already sending the data at this point. So at this point C does not know about it, so even C starts sending the data, and this is where the first bit of the frame. So here at this particular point A senses that C is sending the frame, and here in this way at this particular point D senses that C is sending the frame. Alright, and if you look at this thickness here, from this point to this point, okay, from this point to this point, that is the average transmission of the frame. Okay, so this point to this point, average transmission of frame for C. Meanwhile, B takes this point to this point. Okay, from this end towards this end is the propagation, the frame transmission time of B. Alright, so actually at this point, this is the end of frame of B, the last bit of B, and this would be the last bit of C. This is the starting bit of C. Okay, and the area which is highlighted with the gray, it says that both signals exist. That means the data sent from B as well as data sent from C will exist, and this is the part of collision. Okay, if you see this dark blue region here, this is the area where only B is transferring the data, and here this light blue region where C signal exists and no other signal. But this is a collision of A and B. Okay, so this is what this diagram is about. Okay, I hope you are clear with that. So we'll proceed with this. The vulnerable time in CSMA. So this is the vulnerable time, which is nothing but the propagation time for CSMA. Okay, so at this particular point D senses that C is going to send the data. Here the C senses here, and here B senses. So if A starts transmitting the data from this point, so you can see this this whole yellow color. So this width is the propagation time taken, and this is the average time for the frame. Okay, so from here to here, so at this point, at this particular time, B senses, at this particular time C senses, at this particular time D senses. So this is the last station that is going to, the last and the late station that is going to sense that A has transmitted some data. At this particular point, T1, that is A knows that A is transmitting the data. Okay, so from this time T1 up to this point, that is the last sensing point, that is the propagation time. Okay, vulnerable time is equal to propagation time for CSMA. All right. Next, we have some of the persistence methods for CSMA, that is to how to sense the medium before transmitting the data. Okay, so there are three persistent methods, and each method will say what should a station do if the channel is busy, what should a station do if the channel is idle, and this is answered by these three, that is one persistent method, non-persistent method, and P persistent method. Okay, so this is one persistent method. Here what happens is, in this method, after the station finds the line is idle, it sends its frame immediately with probability 1. This method has the highest chance of a collision because two or more stations may find the line idle and send their frames immediately. So if you look at this, the station will sense the medium. So at this region, it is senses that it is busy, and at this particular point, the station will sense that the medium is idle, and it immediately sends the frame. So what happens at this particular time? More than one station might sense that the medium is idle at this particular point, so it might send the frame, its frame. So there is multiple stations sending frames at this particular time, so again which might lead to a collision. Okay, so if you look at this flow chart, the channel will check if the station will check if the channel is busy. If the channel is busy, it again keeps checking or keeps sensing. If the channel is idle, the station will transmit the frame. Okay, so this is one persistent method. Second one is that a non-persistent method. In non-persistent method, a station that has a frame to send senses the line. If the line is idle, it sends immediately. If the line is not idle, it waits a random amount of time and then senses the line again. So if you look at this, it does not continuously keep sensing the medium. It senses the medium, then it waits for a time, again it senses the medium. If the medium is busy, again it will wait for a particular period of time, and then again it senses. So when it senses, if the frame if the medium is idle, immediately it will send the frame. Okay, if it is busy, then again it will wait for some time and then again sends the medium. So it is slightly different than one persistent. In one persistent, continuous sensing will be there, and if it finds idle, immediately it sends the frame. Here no continuous sensing. It senses, and if it is busy, waits for some time, again sends, and if it is free, the medium is idle, immediately send the frame. Okay, so this is how the flow chart. It senses the medium. If that channel or the medium is busy, wait for a random amount of time, then again sends the channel. Okay, and if it is idle, immediately the station will transmit the frame. So this is what's happening in non-persistent method. The last one is P persistent. The P persistent method is used if the channel has a time slots with the slot duration equal to or greater than the maximum propagation time. Okay, so this method is used particularly if the channel has the time slots. Okay, that is, it might be having the duration greater than the or equal to the propagation time. In this method, after the station finds the line idle, it follows these steps. With probability P, the station sends its frame, that is, with probability Q equal to 1 minus P, the station waits for the beginning of the next time slot and checks the line again. If the line is idle, it goes to step 1, that is, by checking the probability, it will either send the frame or it keeps waiting. If the line is busy, it acts as though a collision has occurred and uses the back off procedure. Okay, so if you look at this diagram, it keeps sensing the medium, okay, which is done as a one persistent, and then when it finds the medium is idle, it will not immediately send the frame, rather it checks the probability. So there is R, which is nothing but a random number that is generated between 0 and 1, and this R is compared with the probability P. So if R is less than P, then you will send the frame, that is, the probability is more than the random number, then send the frame, otherwise wait for a time slot, okay, for the next time slot. And then again, when you sense if it is busy, then take a back of time. So after the back of time, again you sense the medium. If the medium is idle, then check for this condition, R less than P. If it satisfies, send a frame, or else wait for the next time slot, and this keeps repeating. Again, in the next time slot, if the medium is busy, you will have to wait for a back of time. If at all it is idle, then check this condition, R less than P, and send the frame. Okay, so this is how P persistent method is going to work. So here we have the flow diagram. Okay, so you can look at this. The station will check if the channel is busy. If yes, then it will wait, and if it is false, then what it does is it generates a random number, that is R, which is between 0 and 1, and after generation, again it checks for the condition if R is less than or equal to P. If R is less than or equal to P, then the station will retransmit the frame. The station transmits the frame. If it is false, it will wait a slot. That is, if this condition is false, it waits for the next slot and again senses if the channel is busy or idle. If it is idle, then then what it does is it again generates a random number and checks this condition, that is idle means if it is not busy. Then if the channel is busy, then it uses a back off process as the collision occurs. So it waits for a back off time, and then later on again it will sense for the medium if it is idle or busy. Okay, and this procedure will continue. All right, hope you understood what is P persistent, how P persistent is going to work. Okay, so these are the three methods to sense the carrier. Now, collision of the first bit in CSMA CD. So CSMA, that is, here it is carrier sends multiple access for collision detection. Okay, so this method is for collision detection. Now if you look at this, at this particular point T1, A will transmit the bit. So this line indicates the first bit of A is going to transmit it. At this particular point, C will come to know that A has started transmitting the frame. At this particular point, D will come to know that A has started to transmit the data. And here in C, if you look at this particular point where the intersection of the pink line, so C starts transmitting its data. So this line, the pink color line, shows that it is the first bit of C that has been transmitted, and over here if you look at this is the first bit of C being transmitted. Okay. At this particular point, D will come to know that C started transmitting. At T4, A will come to know that C has started transmitting the data. Okay. And if you look at this intersection of pink and black line where collision occurs. Okay. So at this particular point, when C comes to know that A is sending the data, C's collision will be detected and abortion will take place at this particular point. So C stops sending the frame. At this particular time, A will detect the collision and it also aborts sending the frames. Okay, and this is that T1 to T4 is known as transmission time for A, and this T2 to T3 is the transmission time for C, because after T3 C will not send the data, after T4 A will not send the data, so that would be the transmission time, that is T1 to T4 for A and T2 to T3 for C. Alright. Next, this figure shows the collision and abortion of transmission of frames in CSMA CD. The same figure just highlighted with the yellow and blue color. So blue color will identify that it's a part of A's frame, whereas yellow color is part of C's frame, and this is the point where first collision occurs, and this is the transmission time T3, and T2 is the transmission time for C. T1 and T4 is the transmission time for A. At this point, A determines the collision. At this point, C determines the collision. Okay. So once it determines a collision, C determines collision at this point, it will abort the transmission, and at this particular point A will abort the transmission. Okay. So this is an just an example for CSMA CD. A network using CSMA CD has a bandwidth of 10 Mbps. If the maximum propagation time, including the delays in the devices and ignoring the time needed to send a jamming signal, as we see later, is 25.6 microsecond. What is the minimum size of the frame? So we need to find the minimum size of the frame here. Okay, so as we know, the frame transmission time is TFR, which is equal to 2 into the propagation time. So we have the propagation time as 25.6 microseconds. So the frame transmission time is 2 into propagation time, which gives you 51.2 microseconds. This means in the worst case, a station needs to transmit for a period of 51.2 microseconds to detect the collision. The minimum size of the frame is 10 Mbps, which is the bandwidth given, into this frame transmission time, that is 51.2 microseconds. which gives you 512 bits or 64 bytes. Actually, this 512 bits or 64 bytes is the minimum size of the frame for a standard Ethernet. Okay, so just remember this few formulas and how you find the minimum size of the frame. Okay, there might be a chance you might get to solve this for the exam point of view. So this gives you the flow diagram of CSMA CD. Okay, so here you know K is the number of attempt, TP is the maximum propagation time, TFR is the average transmission time for a frame, TB is the back of time. So it starts here. We have already seen this for Aloha. Okay, now we'll check what is it for CSMA CD. So the station wants to transmit, so it sets the K value to 0 and it will apply any one of the persistent method. Okay, that is either one persistent, non-persistent or a P persistent method to sense the medium. So if it is eligible for transmission, so it should be either transmission is done or uh, collision is detected. Okay, so if transmission is done, if it is yes, then it will check if collision is detected. Okay, if collision is not detected, then it is success. The frame transmission is success. If transmission is not done, so what it will do is transmit and receive, and again it will wait at this position. Okay, and again it will check if transmission is done or collision is detected. So in this part, if collision is detected, if the collision is detected, then the station will send a jamming signal and increment the time by 1. Increment the count by 1 and check if K is greater than K max. If it is yes, then abort. Otherwise, choose a random number which is between 0 and 2 power K minus 1 and calculate the back of time either using formula R into TP or R into TFR, any one. Okay, and after this time again restart the process, sense the medium and follow the same procedure. Okay, so this is how it happens in CSMA CD. So this is where you calculate the energy level during the transmission. Okay, idleness or collision. So this is the normal frame transmission when it is success, and at this particular point it is the medium is idle, and you can see this red. So the energy level is almost double here, correct? The energy level is almost double. This is for a wired one. So if the energy level is almost double than this, then that would be a collision. Okay, but on a wireless network energy level is not this high, which is almost double, but it barely 5 to 10% higher. Okay, so in the wireless medium we need to avoid the collisions because we will not come to know the collision since it gives the energy only 5 to 10% higher energy. All right, so the last one under the controlled access is that CSMA CA. Okay, under the random access it is CSMA CA. So carrier sends multiple access with the collision avoidance. So here it tries to avoid the collision. So there is rather detecting for the collision. Okay, and this is mainly meant for wireless networks. So here there are three strategies. First one is that interframe space, then the contention window strategy, and the third one is the acknowledgement. So we'll see the interframe space. First, the collisions are avoided by deferring transmission even if the channel is found idle. When an idle channel is found, the station does not send immediately. It waits for a period of time called the interframe space or IFS, even though the channel may appear idle when it is sensed. A distant station may have already started transmitting. So that means some other station might be transmitting, which this particular station may not sense while sensing the medium. So after waiting an IFS time, if the channel is still idle, the station can send, but it still needs to wait a time equal to the contention window. So we'll see what it is. So if you look at this, this is the contention window method. The contention window is an amount of time divided into slots. So you can see this is the contention window here. The amount of time is divided into slots. You can see that 1 slot, 2 slot, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 slots been divided. The contention window is divided into 9 slots. A station that is ready to send chooses a random number of slots as its wait time. The number of slots in the window changes according to the binary exponential back-off strategy. Okay, and it is set to one slot the first time. So if it is the first time, it will set to only one slot, and then doubles each time the station cannot detect an idle channel. That is, first time it is one slot, and if it is again busy, then it will take for three slots because it is a double. Okay, so that's how it does. And you can see that it is continuously sensing the channel. So once it finds an idle here, it waits for IFS, that is interframe sequence. So interframe space. So after this time, still the station is idle, then it waits for a contention window. And here also, if it is idle, then it will start sending the frame. If not, it will follow the strategy which is already discussed. This is the flow diagram of CSMA CA. So initially the value of k will be 0 when a frame has to be sent from the station. It sets the value of k equal to 0, and it checks if the channel is free. If the channel is free, then it will wait for IFS. If not, it keeps on sensing. After waiting for IFS, it will wait for the contention window, that is, it chooses a random number r between 0 and 2 power k minus 1, and it uses the rth slot to send the RTS. Okay, here it sends the request to send. So RTS means it is a request to send, and after sending this RTS frame, it will set the timer, and it keeps waiting. Okay, if CTS is received, CTS in the sense clear to send. So after sending RTS, before the timer expires, if it receives a CTS to send, and if it is true, it will wait for IFS, and then the sends the frame. Okay, IFS is interframe space, and then it sends the frame. If this is false, then it will increment the value of k and moves further. So after sending the frame, it again sets a timer. So it has to know if the sent frame is received or not. So after setting the timer, it will check if the acknowledgement is received before the timeout of this particular timer. Okay, this timer is different, which is set for frame that is sent. This is the timer set for frame that is sending the request to send. Okay, and if it is true, then it treats that frame is sent successfully. If it is false, it will increment the value of k. Then it checks the value of k. If it is k is less than k max, if it is true, then it will abort. If true in the sense, if k is less than the k max, then if it is true, then wait for TB seconds and then restart. If k is not less than k max, then you need to abort and start sometime later. Okay, so this is the flow diagram for CSMA CA. Hope you understood this. Okay, Just look at this frame exchange timeline. So here A wants to send the RTS frame. So this is DIFS, which is called as a distributed interframe space. This is the distributed interframe space. So it sends a RTS frame. RTS frame is nothing but request to send a frame. It is sending to the B, and B will wait for this SIFS, which is a short interframe space. After that, it will send CTS, that is the clearance notification, which we call it as clear to send frame. So once A receives clear to send frame, again it will wait for a short IFS, okay, and then A will send the data to B. And once receiving the data from B, again B will wait for short IFS and then sends acknowledgement back to A, which A confirms that the data been sent successfully. Okay, if you look at this B, so B is sending CTS to all the stations. That means it is sending a clearance to send the data. Okay, so that means when it is sensed here C and D, it senses this. It will come to know that there is a data transmission from one of the station to B. Okay, so these A, C and D will not send any data. And once acknowledgement, so the acknowledgement also will be sent to all the stations, so that which means the data transfer is completed, so that the other stations can send the data. And this NAV is nothing but the network allocation vector. Network allocation vector means at this particular slot you cannot send any data. Okay, any station cannot send data because already there is some transmission happening over here. All right, so this is a frame exchange timeline for CSMA CA. Okay, in CSMA CA, the IFS can also be used to define the priority of a station or a frame. All right, so I hope you are understood with this random access protocol. So under random access protocol, we discussed about Aloha, under that pure and slotted Aloha. Then we discussed what is CSMA, what is CSMA CD, and what is CSMA CA. Okay, hope you understood this. Yes. Thanks for watching this video. If you like, please click on the like button. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.